years that I would have been in this position.
Federal workers waiting in long lines at this food bank in southern Maryland.
I would have never thought in a million years that I would have been in this position to have to go to a food bank.
Denise Blake says she drove over an hour to get here. When she finally arrived, they had run out of food.
We have a cart ready for you out front.
Fortunately, she did not leave empty-handed, but she still faces the harsh reality of not knowing how she's going to feed her family while she's not getting paid during the government shutdown.
I don't want my daughter to see me crying.
Blake's story is like so many others who are waiting to get paid as Congress stalls to pass a new spending plan.
I haven't gotten a paycheck this month, so the free groceries is very important, very helpful.
More than 1 million federal workers are not receiving pay right now. Many missed their first full paycheck Friday, while others will feel the loss early next week, depending on the agency. Federal workers waiting in long lines at this food bank in southern Maryland.
I would have never thought in a million years that I would have been in this position to have to go to a food bank.
Denise Blake says she drove over an hour to get here. When she finally arrived, they had run out of food.
We have a cart ready for you out front.
Fortunately, she did not leave empty-handed, but she still faces the harsh reality of not knowing how she's going to feed her family while she's not getting paid during the government shutdown.
I don't want my daughter to see me crying.
Blake's story is like so many others who are waiting to get paid as Congress stalls to pass a new spending plan.
I haven't gotten a paycheck this month, so the free groceries is very important, very helpful.
More than 1 million federal workers are not receiving pay right now.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rachaha, Kodash. Double honors to that apostle, and that is a great millstone who rule well and teach well. It's the brother Mattathiah coming to you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai. Yahweh being the true, holy, powerful name of the Heavenly Father. Yahushai being the true, holy, and powerful name of his only begotten Son, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus and Christ. Bahashim is in the name, and Lord willing, this be edifying information / lesson. And as you well know, we are still in the government shutdown, which the government did not reach an agreement concerning SNAP benefits, food stamps, EBT, etc. So there will be no food stamps for the month of November and counting, because this, could well go into December, all the way into the end of the year. All right. And we know this is all set up by design by these wicked elites who are in the position, who have been put in the position of power pursuant to Job 9:24. Okay. Now you've seen this video clip of this woman who is a federal worker, which she is one of the 1 million, one of the 1 million federal workers that are not receiving pay, but are required to still go to work, are required, to still upkeep with their, their bills, rent, car payments, especially these women, because these women are not wise with their money at all. These women get these brand new cars and they pay these high car notes, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a month car notes, and that's not even counting the full coverage insurance that is attached to these new model cars they're required to have to even be able to get a car off the lot and finance it, so to speak. Okay. So no pay is being going out to a large percentage of these federal workers, and people are feeling it. I've spoken to, a couple people that work for the government, that work these federal jobs, and they just so happen to be women, and they definitely are feeling it. All right. They don't know what they're going to do. They're definitely coming to the last resort of their funds, trying to make ends meet. Okay. People are very angry. And you saw this woman, she is, she drove an hour to go to a food bank, but when she got there, all the food was gone. All right. And this is all set up by design because, the powers that be, when you do your research, these food banks did not receive, and this goes back months ago, they all their funding, the various meats and products that they were supposed to get were cut, okay, months back, and basically discarded of, by the government, by the powers that be, etc. So this is all being set up by design. They're this government shutdown to the SNAP benefit programs being shut down, so to speak, to the food banks not receiving funding, not receiving the goods, the foods, etc. This is ultimately going to lead to what? It's going to lead to more instability in Babylon the Great. These people being outraged, riots, taking matters into their own hands, etc. And that's what Esau wants, so he can bring about, this police state. He's already militarized the police task force, so he can declare martial law. He can push more laws, more orders in, and say he's justified because look how you people are acting, right? Real quick, before I got a couple more videos I want to play. This is Romans 13:11. It says, and that knowing the time, because this woman said she never thought in a million years that she would be doing this. Let's replay this. And this was sent in the chat by Elder Monaghan. Okay. They had of the DC camp.
Federal workers waiting in long lines at this food bank in southern Maryland.
I would have never thought in a million years that I would have been in this position. They have to.
Yeah, she said she never would have thought in a million years that she would be in this position. And this is the mindset of the majority of our people. Okay, they're not taking heed to the words of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. They said, in a million years, I would have never thought that America, the great land, the home of the brave, the land of the free, that I would have a job, but I would be damn near begging for food, right? They never thought that America was going to crumble and fall, that there was going to come a time that there would eventually be no jobs, because this is the times that we're coming into. We're coming to the time where, hey, guess what? There is no jobs, right? Now, you can still go out and get a job, so to speak, but I say that because the job market is getting worse and worse day by day, and they're bringing in artificial intelligence, which they've already brought it in, okay? Artificial intelligence and robotics is essentially replacing the people all across the board. Bill Gates made a statement that in 10 years, all your doctors, your scientists, these high level positions that you see people that have a $200,000 to $300,000-$400,000 a year salary or more will be replaced by AI. Okay.
Long lines at this food bank in southern Maryland.
I would have never thought in a million years that I would have been in this position. They have to go to a food bank.
Denise Blake says she drove over an hour.
Yeah, so she never thought in a million years that, her having a job, her having the various different credentials, that she would have to go to a food bank, that she would actually have to ask for food because of, her not getting paid. Okay. And yeah, well, you're in for a rude awakening because this is just the beginning. Okay, you ain't seen nothing yet. This is Romans 13:11, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. And the majority of our people are asleep. They can't understand what's going on because they haven't taken heed to the words of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And ultimately, they've been blinded by Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. They have eyes, they have ears, but they cannot see and they cannot hear.
First, the Trump administration says that there will be no federal food aid. So that means those SNAP benefits may soon be off the table for 1 in 8 Americans who use it. And with no end in sight to the shutdown, people are upset.
I never thought it would come to something like this.
Growing up, Nora Shaheen says she and her family relied on SNAP benefits to make ends meet, which is why the news that families like hers may not have it soon has left the 22-year-old far from pleased. She says SNAP was a lifeline for her.
There's always food in the house. Like it made me feel like the same as other kids who are more fortunate.
So it means a lot to you.
It means so much to me, yeah, for sure. It's like infuriating.
According to a statement on the U.S. Department of Agriculture's website, the well has run dry as far as funding goes to continue SNAP benefits starting November 1st. Over the weekend, President Donald Trump once again placed blame on Democrats for the pause and preventing the government shutdown from coming to an end.
But the Democrats are stopping it. All they have to do is agree to let's go, and we're ready. And we voted for it many times. All we need is 5 Democrats.
Yeah, and that's just Esau double speaking. Nero 47 says that all we need is 5 Democrats to get down with this program, this order, come into this agreement, and that's the problem. No, okay. To these average everyday working class citizens, they look at Donald Trump as the last line of the power structure of America, but that's not the case. He has been hired and he is being used. He has been set up by these wicked elites to be the face of the American government. Okay, and this is all set up by design to push ultimately Esau's New World Order. Okay, let's run that back a little bit.
22-year-old far from pleased. She says SNAP was a lifeline for her.
There's always food in the house. Like it made me feel like the same as other kids.
Yeah, so these people who have been on these benefit programs, they have gotten very, very comfortable in Babylon the Great, receiving these various different benefits and aids, which were primarily set up for these women. Okay, and they saw no end in sight. All right, they saw no end in sight that the funding was going to keep coming in. All right, they were going to keep receiving their WIC, their SNAP, their EBT, their food stamps. Okay, and not having food stamps for the month of November, it's just the beginning. Esau's about to cut out the rest of these benefits as well. Child support, they're going to go all down the list. All right, it's all about to get cut. Right. Let's get Isaiah 32 real quick before we continue on. Because the majority of these interviews by these news stations, who are they interviewing? They're interviewing primarily you so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American women. All right. We haven't seen too many interviews of men. This is primarily you so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American women. All right. Not that it's not going to affect these men as well. Okay. This is Isaiah 32:9. It says, "Rise up, you women that are at ease," and our women have become in a great state of easement under the various different aids that Esau Edom has set for them. Okay, as long as they're willing to abide by his orders. It says, "Rise up, you women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech." And the majority of the Israelite women are not giving ear unto the speech of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. They're completely against Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, and they're really for Esau Edom. Okay, they're with his agenda. They're with his philosophies, his doctrines, his orders. Verse 10, "Many days and years shall you be troubled, ye careless woman." So trouble is coming to you women. And these women never fathom trouble coming to them. Because guess what? They got a good job. They're getting $100,000 a year. They got aid and benefits coming in. And if they don't have aid and benefits coming in, if times get rough, they can go down to these various different establishments that have been set up by the government to receive aid, to sign up for a benefit program. I got kids, I got this, I got that, I lost my job, whatever the case may be, and they would be taken care of. Well, that's out the window for the time being. Okay. They said they don't need no man. I can do it all by myself. I can do it by myself. I can do all by myself. Right? And how can they say these things? How can they make these bold statements? Is because off the strength of what men have laid out and established for them. Okay? Because of what the government has set up for them, they're able to say these things, that I don't need no man. Right? I can call 911. That's my protection. I don't need no man. I got a job where I'm getting this amount of money so I can take care of myself. I can feed myself. I can raise some kids by myself because of the programs that are set before me. Well, all that's being stripped from you. The rug is being pulled out from underneath you. And these people or these women are starting to come to the realization that they've been bamboozled by the wicked elites. And they actually do need a man. They can't do it all by themselves. And when the times get tough, guess what? They're going to be in a very, very serious situation, not having a man as protection, right? Verse 11. Salaki, let's finish out verse 10. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless woman, for the vintage shall fail. The gathering shall not come. And this is what you're witnessing. Verse 11, tremble ye women that are at ease, be troubled ye careless ones, strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. You know, so, and even before there was a declaration of no food stamps for the month of November, you know, our people, primarily women, are already speaking about, you know, what they were going to do if food stamps don't hit November 1st. You know, they're talking about the stealing, the robbing. They're going to sit in parking lots, and when you come out with your food, they're going to hit you over the head with a billy club. Okay, and you see the pride of these women. These women still think they're on the same playing field, the same level as a man, that they're just going to be able, as a woman, they're going to be able to use necessary force, excessive force, be able to take action, you know, against, you know, a grown man or even another woman to steal some goods because they don't have it, right?
Are more fortunate.
So it means a lot to you.
It means so much to me, yeah, for sure. It's like infuriating.
According to a statement on the U.S. Department of Agriculture's website, the well has run dry as far as funding goes to continue SNAP benefits starting November 1st. Over the weekend, President Donald Trump once again placed blame on Democrats for the pause and preventing the government shutdown from coming to an end.
But the Democrats are stopping it. All they have to do is agree to let's go and we're ready. And we voted for it many times. All we need is 5 Democrats. The Republicans vote for it. But
in response to the potential pause, Senator Richard Blumenthal said in a statement, "I'm hopeful that the state will step into the breach, but families across Connecticut and the country face a food insecurity perfect storm, with rising prices and diminished benefits compounded by the challenges with health care that Republicans have imposed with a self-inflicted wound as a result of the government shutdown. With the future unclear, those on SNAP are being encouraged by groups like Connecticut Voices for Children and Connecticut Social Services to spend what SNAP benefits they have before November 1st, while those like Shaheen hope this will send a message to lawmakers.
I just want to tell them that you need to keep these families in mind.
Yeah, because there's no rollover, you know, and you know, one of the brothers in our camp, when we were out camping on Friday, you know, he made me aware of that, you know, because I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know that, like, you didn't have a rollover system if you didn't spend the food stamps for all of your food stamps for 1 month, that you'd be able to have a rollover where you can use what's left of the last month or months, you know, in your current month, which will be added to the month of food stamps that you're getting for that month. So you're literally forced to use all your food stamps for that month, okay? Or it just goes right back to the government, which is crazy, right? This is 2 Ezra chapter 6 and 22. It says, "Suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown; the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." Because this is not going to just affect the people, like I've stated in previous videos on this topic. This is going to affect the businesses. All right, it's going to affect the jobs. Right, these truckers that deliver goods to these food stores. What do you think is going to happen to their work schedules? Now there's no more deliveries because, you know, you have a decreasement in the various different customers that go to these stores, because these stores and businesses profit off of people receiving SNAP benefits, food stamps, EBT, WIC, all right, and all the other supportments, child support, you know, all on down the line, etc. Okay, so this is going to impact, you know, the whole financial systems, these businesses, and the job market. Okay, the longer the shutdown goes, and we very well could see it play out to the end of the year. All right, it says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsold, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found emptied. And it never came into the minds of these women that America would enter into a state of complete lawlessness, of famine, no electricity, a survival of this fittest type mindset that it speaks about in 2nd Ezra, the 15th and 16th chapter, right? You know, they never took that into account. Verse 23, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid, and fear is starting to set in, okay, especially for these women. You know, they're starting to sit back and look like, oh man, this is going to get bad. All right, my benefits are coming in. You know, there's a government shutdown. You see these women that have these federal jobs, you know, not knowing what they're going to do because they're not receiving any type of payment. And this is not just a woman, the men. There's a million workers, a million federal workers are not receiving pay. Okay, they didn't receive pay all last month, and it looks like they're not going to receive pay this month either. So, hey, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, y'all been warned by the men that Yahweh Shem Yahushua said all over the four corners of the earth. We told you that America and this system is on the decline and is soon going to crumble and fall. But you didn't take heed, but that's okay. Verse 24 says, at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. So you already heard what Jake said they're going to do if they're not receiving their snaps. You already heard what Jake said they're going to do if they start to go hungry. Okay. It says friends shall fight. It says friends. It says at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. And it speaks about this in 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, because of what? You know, you're going to have invading one another because of the great tribulation and the lack of food, okay, because of famine. And really, this is just like a springboard, you know, into famine, okay? You know, this EBT being cut off for the month of November and counting, you know, you're going to have a lot of people that are starving, that are, you know, potentially could even die from not being able to eat, for not having food, okay, possibly even clean water, right? While America is still up and running, so to speak. It says, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. And like the scripture says, you know, the love of many shall wax cold. Hey, you know, in the days and age we living in, you might be hungry, you might need something. These people that get their benefits cut, or, you know, might not be able to find a job, or damn near going homeless. You try to ask for some aid or some help from people, and people looking at you sideways, even your own family. Just go get a job. You know, why are you hungry? But why, you know what I'm saying? People have a very, very cold mindset. They're reluctant to help people. And furthermore, they're in a situation themselves.
And just because I'm not dealing with it right now, like, I still feel for all these other families and all these children and stuff who have to be affected.
And Brent, Sarah, we're expecting to hear more about this SNAP benefit impact tomorrow afternoon from Governor Lamont. So
I want to play this video. This is from Fox 5. It says SNAP benefits halt November 1st, amid government shutdown. Let's go ahead and play this. It's a short clip.
Do you think the administration should tap into those funds or find other sources in order to ensure that millions of Americans do get?
Well, look, I can tell you the administration has worked, as you all know, very creatively and very hard to limit the pain on the Americans because of the Democrats' shutdown. And the SNAP benefits is a unique situation. I got a summary of the whole legal analysis, and it certainly looks legitimate to me. The contingency funds are not legally available to cover the benefits right now. The reason is because it's a finite source of funds. It was appropriated by Congress, and if they transfer funds from these other sources, it pulls it away immediately from school meals and infant formula. So it's a trade-off. there has to be a pre-existing appropriation for the contingency fund to be used, and Democrats blocked that appropriation when they rejected the clean continuing resolution. So the way to make this stop immediately is we just need a handful. We need 5 more Democrats in the Senate to do the right thing.
Oh, yeah, we just need 5 more Democrats in the Senate just to do the right thing. It's so easy, right? Just 5 more. He says it with a smile on his face. Like that's all. That's the only thing hindering this this government shutdown, right? No, it's far deeper than that.
Continuing resolution. So the way to make this stop immediately is we just need a handful. We need 5 more Democrats in the Senate to do the right thing. Wake up and say, I'm going to say no to the Marxist far left pressure, and I'm going to do what's right by the people, the 42 million Americans in this country who rely upon this essential nutrition assistance.
Now I want to bring out some information concerning this government shutdown. Let's go into these food banks, because a lot of these people, that were not receiving pay or food stamps not coming in, they thought that they were going to resort to go to these food banks, right? So they could feed themselves and their families. Well, that's not the case. Okay, as you've seen in the first video that I played. It says this AI overview says food banks are not receiving food because of a combination of government shutdown and a pause in federal food assistance programs like SNAP. This is exacerbating existing problems from inflation and previous federal funding cuts. Like I was speaking about earlier, this was ultimately set up by design, and you go months back, there's various different cuts that were pushed upon these food banks for not receiving certain aid and not receiving the amount of goods that they were supposed to receive, leading into the state that we're in right now. It says this is exacerbating existing problems from inflation and previous federal funding cuts, leading to lower supplies and increased demand. As a result, food banks are struggling to meet the needs of a growing number of people, many of whom who have no other source of food. Like you saw that federal aid worker, that Jake woman. Okay, she pulled up in a pretty nice vehicle, looked like a Cadillac or a Cadillac truck. She probably had a salary of $100,000 a year. Okay, but a lot of that money was not being saved, and a lot of that money was going out for bills, them high car notes, your the expensive house or apartment that you live in, because that was in Maryland, and the cost of living, especially living in that metropolitan area or close to it, is very high. Okay. Let's see. Let me bring out also some information on the cut of SNAP for November. It says, yes, federal SNAP benefits. Okay, that's not what I want. Just had it. It's crazy how these searches on YouTube will change. You'll search something and you'll get the information you want, and you'll research it and it'll come up something completely different. Okay, here it is. It says, yes, SNAP benefits will be cut for November 2025 due to the ongoing government shutdown, as the U.S. Department of Agriculture has announced there will be no benefits issued on November 1st. The USDA stated that the well has run dry. Okay? The well has run dry, and it will not tap into contingency funds for the regular November benefits. The impact will vary by state, with some recipients missing payments as early as November 1st, while others will be affected later in the month. Yeah, and I believe certain states will still receive benefits. I believe, what is it? Maybe, I think it's California and New York. Don't quote me on that, but I believe California, residents in California and New York will still receive certain benefits for the time being. Okay. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. We've been bringing this out a lot lately. Let's start from the top. It says, remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. And you Israelites have been warned week in and week out. Okay. On the highways and byways. All right. Also via the internet. you see, our people making TikTok videos and Instagram videos which the elder from South Carolina goes into a lot, Elder Manada Zakba. Jake scoffing and mocking the prophets, talking shit, right? And you're really talking shit against the Lord. And the scripture speaks about that. What scripture is that? Let me see if I can find that. This is Isaiah chapter 57:4. It says, "Against whom do ye sport yourselves? Against whom make ye a wide mouth and draw out the tongue? Are ye not children of transgression, a seed of falsehood?" Yeah, because the whole nation of Israel went off. Okay. And you got this pride that Jake has. And Jake has even took it a step further in the mockery and the scoffing of the men that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua has set up all over the four corners of earth, proclaiming its truth. And ultimately, you're not just mocking us, you're ultimately mocking Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Okay, let's read that in the NLT. It says, whom do you mock, making faces? You see Jake making these crazy faces, talking shit on the internet. And the new trend to gain traction for your channel, all right, your Instagram, your TikTok, your X profile, is to talk about the Hebrew Israelites. They entitled us the Black Hebrew Israelites, which we're simply just Hebrew Israelites. Okay, they call us dirty. They call us all these various names and terms. It says, whom do you mock, making faces and sticking out your tongues, you children of sinners and liars? Okay, now let's jump back to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Continuing on in verse 2, it says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, and the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease. See, we're in the time of the grinding is ceasing. Okay. Let me see if I can pull up that statement Bill Gates made. Bear with me one moment. Because essentially you're being replaced all across the board. Here it is. This is from CNBC. It says Bill Gates states, within 10 years, artificial intelligence AI will replace many doctors and teachers. Humans won't be needed for most things. Okay. So they're seeking to replace you all across the board, right? From your local fast food restaurant, to your gas station attendant, all the way up to a federal working job. Okay, even in the military, right? It says over the next decade, advances in artificial intelligence will mean that humans will no longer be needed for most things, and we're closer than 10 years. Okay, I mean that's a trait that Esau likes to use. He likes to put things like it's way out in the future, but it's actually closer than you think. Okay, it's right there at the doorstep. I'm not going to go too much in that article. I'll put the link in the description. You can check it out for yourself. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. It says, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened. Let's go to verse 4, and I want to read this in the NLT. It says, remember him before the door to life's opportunities is closed. That's right. Remember Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, repent. Okay, come back to your true power. Forsake this world. All right. Get your life right before all hell breaks loose. It says, remember him before the door to life's opportunities is closed. And that door is closing. And these people are coming to the realization of that. They're seeing like, oh, man, that woman said, I had never in a million years. And it's funny how she used that term 1 million, because she was one of the 1 million that were not receiving pay amid this government shutdown. Let's play this one more time.
Workers waiting in long lines at this food bank in southern Maryland.
I would have never thought in a million years that I would have been in this position to have to go to a food bank.
Denise.
She never thought in a million years that she would be in this position to have to go to a food bank. Well, you became one of the 1 million workers. You became one of the 1 million federal workers to not receive pay. Okay.
Federal workers are not receiving pay right now.
This is Ecclesiastes 12:4 NLT. Remember him before the door to life's opportunities is closed and the sound of work fades. Now you rise at the first chirping of the birds, but then all their sounds will grow faint. Okay. So you're working, but you ain't receiving no pay. You ain't receiving no money. Well, I thought you was free. Okay. Our people still make these statements that they're free, you know, this, that, and so forth. Well, hey, here it is. You got a job, but guess what? You ain't getting paid to go to your job, and you're still required to go to your job. And if you miss a day, you call out too many times, you don't show up to work on time, guess what? You can get fired from your job that you're not even getting paid for. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Hey, I ain't getting paid to go to work, but if I don't show up to work, I can still get fired. Let's read that one more time. It says, remember him before the door to life's opportunities is closed and the sound of work fades. Okay, and the door to life's opportunities is closing. This place is systematically being dismantled by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And we warned you, Israelites, this place, Babylon the Great, is not going to be restored. Okay, it's not going to be made great again. Essentially and ultimately, this place is going to be completely decimated, completely destroyed, pursuant to the scriptures that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans majority don't understand. Okay. Let's go to Matthew, the 24th chapter. And let's start in verse 3. This is concerning the disciples and Yahushua. The disciples asked Yahushua a question. This is Matthew 24:3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Okay, which is essentially the end of Esau's world and the beginning of the world of Israel. All right, the world of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans being in everlasting power and rulership. Right, verse 4. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am a Mashiach, and shall deceive many, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines. Okay. See, our people, they have a zeal, but not according to knowledge. They say they believe in the Bible and God, etc. You know, they go to church or whatever the case may be, but essentially they don't believe the very scriptures that are, that they don't believe the very Bible that they proclaim to read. Okay. It says, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. So you best believe famine is coming upon Babylon the Great, because these people that live in America, they only see famine happening outside of the United States of America. No, famine is coming to America on a very, very high level. All right. Verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Okay. And, before an all-out famine, takes place where there is no food, there is no access to goods like you see in that movie that Denzel Washington played, and just slipped my mind, where he was blind, the Book of Eli. Okay, you're going to see a price influx. All right, let's go to let's do this. Matter of fact, let's pull it up on the blue letter. Let's go to Revelation, the 6th chapter. This is Revelation chapter 6, and let's go down to verse 6. It says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see that thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Okay, so you're going to see a price influx You're going to see, what's the word? A high level inflation, okay, take place where it's going to cost a lot of money for something that in previous time was relatively very cheap. All right. Let's jump over to Ezekiel real quick. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 4, and let's go down to verse 10. I think it's 10. Yeah. Ezekiel 4 and 10. It says, "And thy meat which thou shalt eat shall be by weight, 20 shekels a day. From time to time shall thou eat." Okay, so there's going to come a point in time where you're only going to eat from time to time. It's not going to be that stuff in your face, just pulling up to a drive-through, eating whenever you want, having food access at all times, a full fridge. Okay, being able to go to these grocery stores. We just read in 2 Ezra 6 chapter, soon the store full houses are going to be empty. There's not going to be no food. These grocery stores are going to shut down. They're already talking about shutting down Ammon. The claims and statements, primarily you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are making, right, concerning where it's going to go and loot and steal and what it's going to take what we need. Okay, a lot of these stores are saying, guess what, you got to order online, we're shutting our doors. It says, "Thou shalt drink also water by measure." Okay, so not just the food, you're going to be rationing out the water as well. It says, "The sixth part of an hind from time to time shalt thou drink." So there you go. Now let's jump over to Sirach, the 40th chapter. And let's go down to verse 9. It's Sirach 40:9. It says, "Death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge, these things are created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood." And these same Israelites that, were on the earth at the time of Noah, that were scoffing, mocking, making fun of Noah. Noah, man, there ain't no flood. You crazy, man. What's wrong with you, man? These same Israelites are on the earth today, scoffing, mocking, coming up to the brothers at camp, all right, pulling out a microphone, filming themselves, disrupting the camp, making TikTok videos, making Facebook and Instagram videos, right? Mocking the prophets that Yahweh Shem Yahushua set on this earth, really, which are really mocking the Lord. Okay? Because essentially Jacob's trouble is for you wicked so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Scripture says, "My servant shall eat, but you shall be hungry." So the Lord is going to protect his elect in these perilous times, in the tribulation, essentially at the height of Jacob's trouble, because you're witnessing the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble. Not only we're seeing, the beginning stages of famine, not only we're seeing the government shut down, people, losing work and jobs and not being able to make ends meet, etc. Protest riots, the people are angry, right? This Esau destabilizing his own system, all right? But Esau is coming after you, Jakes, amid all of these things that are happening with the government shutdown, food stamps being cut, and the various other things. Esau's eyes are privily set on you, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. ICE is still coming after you. You're still being thrown in these, these detainment centers, these detainment camps. You're still being deported. Okay? You're still being arrested. These troops, National Guard, military agents are still being sent in your communities where primarily you Israelites dwell. Let's go over to 2 Ezra, the 15th chapter, and let's start from the top. This is 2 Ezra 15:1. "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord." And our people, the majority of you, are not taking heed to the words of prophecy. You're not taking heed to the words of the Heavenly Father. Verse 2, "And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." Yes, these words that we speak, guess what? They're written down as well. Okay? We're coming from the book. We're not coming out of our own mouth. Let's go down to verse 15. It says, "For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. This is what we're seeing. Okay. You got World War III brewing. You got race wars, civil wars, all right, about to pop off. You got these people angry and mad. Hey, you got this whole government shutdown, people not getting paid. And now you have the cut in food stamps, which is going to drastically affect the economy and Esau's whole system. Hey, how do you think people are about to act, man? Huh? It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. Hey, I ain't get my stamps. Trump ain't giving my money. My stamps better show up November 1st. Well, this is what I'm going to do. Okay. Oh, you shut down the stores? Well, hey, we running their houses now. That's what's about to come to. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. You see Jake making these bold statements and claims. Well, if Trump don't have my snips by November 1st, this is what I'm going to do. They're basically making these statements that they're going to not regard their kings nor princes, all right, the rulers, the presidents, etc. But what are they going to do? It says, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. They're taking matters into their own hands. Verse 17, and man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to. So since, and this is what Esau wants, they want this stability of the people. They want people looting, stealing, and these various different things happening so they can bring in a martial law. So you can't go from one city to the other. So he can set up checkpoints, right? Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So there's going to be a survival of the fittest type mentality out here very, very soon. Very, very soon. We're right there at the doorstep of that. And the month of November is going to be very, very interesting. Okay. And very well, this no SNAP, no food stamps, and these benefit programs, etc., could be cut further than November. This very well could last a couple months or even more. These very exciting times that we live in, and me and Akim were speaking about a couple weeks ago. We hope food stamps don't come through. We hope they take food stamps away. Don't ever bring it back. Okay. We're seeing the decline of these women. These women are very, very prideful, and off the strength of the benefit programs, food stamps included, they have, pride has gone through the roof. Okay. And Isaiah 4:1 is right at the door, man. Okay. Let's matter of fact, let's close out on that. Soon these women are going to come to the recollection that guess what? You're going to have to find a good man. And guess what? You're going to have to share them. Simple as that, to survive. All right. This is Isaiah 4:1. And this is going to happen, on this side, not in the kingdom that, IUIC likes to push. IUIC pushes that Isaiah 4:1 is going to happen in the kingdom. Now, this is going to happen here on this side before the kingdom is established. It says Isaiah 4:1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, and it's going to be more than 7, right? It says, in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Okay? So just be patient. So soon these women are going to come flocking to you, right? You're going to have to push them off. You're going to be kicking these women off of you. Right now, you try to holler at these chicks and you're damn near invisible to them. Okay. They want someone who is a multimillionaire. You got to be 6'5". You got to have credentials. You can't have no kids. You got to look a certain way, all these things. And you're supposed to accept them with all their baggage. Right. I'm going to close out on that. Lord willing, this was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rachaha, Gudash, that warn us to the head apostle, and that is a great millstone who rule well. To the next time, Shalom.